What's up, guys? Welcome back to Country Bunkers Trains. Hope you're having a great week and doing well. Before we jump into today's video, I wanted to take a quick minute and ask you guys, what are you doing, man? The channel here has a fantastic returning viewer rate or percentage. The channel does really well in this area. 90+% of the views here on the channel are people returning from previous videos to watch more. And I can't tell you, I'm beyond appreciative and grateful for that. I really am glad you guys are enjoying the videos and coming back for more. That means the world to me. But guys, only 30% of you are subscribed.
Oh, that is whack.
What's up with that? Come on, man, help a brother out. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the video, and comment. I know it sounds silly, but it really does help the channel out. You know, I don't pimp the channel out on social media, plastering it everywhere, trying to get views and whatnot. I probably should. It'd probably help out the channel, but frankly, to be honest, I just don't want to be that guy. But I would greatly appreciate your guys' help in letting the channel grow a little bit more. Just this past week, I've had a bunch of people reach out saying they came across the channel by happenstance and they were glad that they did. And like I say, that means the world to me. I greatly appreciate it. But anyway, on with today's video. Catching up from our last video, I'm sure you can tell I've been very busy in here over the last week. I gotta be honest, I even surprised myself with how far I've come in such a short amount of time. But like I said in that last video, I'm a man on a mission, man. I want to get this done and kind of out the way. The train room's currently down to only 2 operating tracks, and it just feels naked and empty in here with those only 2 tracks running. But yeah, as you can see, we got us a new layout going up. How cool is that? Not only that, but you guys finally talked me into it. The 2 layouts have been joined together. Check that out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We got a little bit to unpack in this video, so let's check some of that out before we jump into this. Picking up where we left off in our last video, with the old layout torn down and removed from the room, I gave this area of the room a good deep clean. It was in much need of it. After several years, there was a lot of gack over here. But yeah, I went about dusting and wiping off the walls. All the interior glass of the windows got cleaned up, as well as the window frames and whatnot. The floor got vacuumed, swept, and mopped. There was a lot of nasty stuff down there after a few years. It was pretty gross. But we got it all cleaned up. It is going to need it again after doing all this work in here, moving around. But yeah, much, much better. Along with that, my wonderful wife did step up. She got our curtains trimmed, shortened up, and re-sewn back up. And we got them back hanging up. And man, these things look great. This might seem like a mundane, almost kind of nothing update to this room, but this is something I'm real excited about. The curtains in their original form, if you remember, were quite long. They used to droop down past the layout, some of them all the way to the floor, and they were just a nuisance, man. They interfered with the layout, with the scenery and whatnot. I actually had to take several of them. I took my carpet tacks that I use for the grass mat and pinned some of the curtains up to the window frames. That way they weren't snagging trains while they were trying to run by, causing derailments and whatnot. But that's no longer an issue. They're all shortened up and looking good. And we got to have curtains in here with the windows, man. We can't not have them. Otherwise, the room would look naked and unfinished. Next up, I got our new to us Glenn Snyder shelving placed here on the wall. And like I said in the last video, this is some really, really nice stuff. I still got a stick or 2 left over. I might take one and run it over here above this door right here. But I haven't made my mind up yet. I'm real happy to have these up. The one I'm most excited about is the top one. We've got our Lionel, what are those, 89 or 86 foot box cars? Some monstrous, monstrous cars, as you can see. And I love these cars. I love them, but I barely ever run them. They've proven to be just a little too big to run normally on my layouts. But I refuse to sell them because I like them so much. These have been hiding in our spare closet, in our spare bedroom for quite a long time. I'm happy to finally have a place to prominently display them here in the train room. Even if we're not running them, we can still drool over them. The bottom 3 shelves are kind of a mixed match of stuff. All of these are items that are kind of in our normal rotation for running on the layout. Currently, we got our Army coaches up there and a handful of engines. And these being a little bit lower than that upper shelf, I can just come over here and reach up and grab them down and swap them out with engines and rolling stock that's on the table at the moment. So this will be a revolving door of product. There's nothing set in stone that's going to be up here. Just our normal stuff that we swap out to run depending on what I'm feeling like. Speaking of shelving, you might notice our OG shelves have been cleaned up and detailed out and stuff moved around. Honestly, I was actually originally planning on taking this shelf down. I was going to take this down and install our puzzle that used to be hanging where our new Glenn Snyder shelving is. I was going to do that because obviously this shelf really isn't going to be accessible anymore. We're not going to be able to reach it, especially once we start placing scenery and buildings and whatnot. That's just going to be a display area. But I couldn't bring myself to take this shelf down. I like it too much. So what I opted to do was move our post-war Santa Fe war bonnets over here, and we're just going to have them on prominent display over here. As I've said many times, these engines I pick up more for the collecting side, more so than running. I just love looking at these things and having them on display here in the train room. So yeah, they'll be on prominent display only here for the time being. Over here on the shelf where the war bonnets used to be, just like our new shelving behind us, this is all stuff that's in our normal rotation for running. So when I want to come over here and grab something off and throw them on the tracks, we can easily grab them and do that. So this too is going to be kind of a revolving door of product or items that'll be placed on this shelf depending on what we want to run. Next up, we get to the biggest upgrade we've done in here, in my personal opinion, and that is we got our new track lighting extended and installed over on this side of the room. And I couldn't be happier. Man, what a world of difference. If you go back and look at our older videos, or hell, even just our last video, you'll know this side of the room was just illuminated by this one cheap fixture. It was pretty dim and dull. It wasn't cutting it. Nowhere near the amount of light that these things put out, and I absolutely love them. Now, I did pick up 6 new heads to install over here, but that actually proved to be overkill. It was just a little too much lighting, but I took the 6th head down, and it didn't go to waste. I moved it over here to a spot on the second layout where it was needed. This one kind of angled, pointing into that back corner. That corner back there was pretty dim, so it needed some extra light. So it got put to use. But yeah, words cannot describe. I don't think the video even does them justice. These things throw a ton of light. Now, I have been playing it safe and keeping an eye on everything. I've been putting these things through the ringer over the last week. We've installed a lot of new bulbs and heads in here, obviously, on the lighting circuit. So I've been keeping an eye on the switch, making sure it's not overheating or getting hot, which it's not. And I've also been keeping an eye on the breaker in the panel box, making sure that's not faulting out, getting hot, or not tripping when needed to. But yeah, we're in good shape. That's the beauty of these modern LED bulbs. These things throw a ton of light, but barely use any power. I can't say enough about them. A lot of you guys commented in the last video, we should look at installing some Bluetooth bulbs in here. And you know, it is a good idea. And I've actually installed some of those in the house, in other rooms, in our living room and in our master bedroom. I've got some of them placed, but even though they call them Bluetooth, I still got to connect the ones that I have at least, to our Wi-Fi network. And I've discovered our Wi-Fi network hates those bulbs, or vice versa. The bulbs don't like the Wi-Fi network. They've proven to be more of a pain than they're worth. Yeah, they're really cool setting up for holidays and putting on different little light shows and whatnot, but once you set them, and then I come back a month or 2 later, or hell, even just a week later, they seem to forget their memory. They don't want to log in on the phone, and then you got to go through an hour or 2 of trying to reset them up. Yeah, I didn't want to go through the headache with these. And I actually like these bulbs a lot. These are 75-watt daylight bulbs, and they are dimmable. We have a dimmer in here. You see, we can dim the light down and change the mood for night scenes and whatnot. So yeah, I'm happy with these. And they're not all that pricey either. These are all from the local Home Depot. And now we get to the star of the show, our new around the room layout. What do you guys think of it? I'm digging it. I like it a lot. As you can see, we got a nice big opening in the middle. When we have parties and friends and people come over to visit, we should be able to comfortably fit 4 or 5 guys in the middle of the table while they're running their trains and whatnot. I think it's going to be a blast. Something a whole lot different from what I'm used to. Now, I will admit, I have fun with this part of the train layout building, the bench work and table itself, but it's really not my favorite thing in the world to do. It's like I say, it's not that I don't enjoy it, it's just not really my forte. I have no problem in admitting I'm not a carpenter. I am not a woodworker by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not my forte. I can form and weld metal decently all day long. I'm not bad at painting, doing electrical work, and a whole other slew of mechanical type work. But woodworking still eludes me. But, like I say, I don't let that hold me back, obviously. We got our new table up, no issues, no complaints. And it might not be some of the prettiest thing in the world to look at, but it's awfully strong. It has no problem holding my big ass up, just like all my other layouts. It's just when you start looking at little things here and there, the little details, you know, stuff might not match up perfect and whatnot. But I don't let that bug me. When the time comes to install trim work and install curtains and whatnot underneath, you're never going to see that anyway. For building the actual table, I know a lot of people nowadays like to use track planning software or layout building software. Me, I'm still somewhat of an old soul. I prefer the old school method of trial and error. For getting the measurements and whatnot, I just put the track together and laid it out on the floor. Obviously, we're not doing any intricate track plans here. We can't do that with the wide curves we're using. But yeah, I laid it all out on the floor, took measurements, and took some painter's tape and laid it out to show where I really kind of wanted the layout at, or get a rough idea of it. And then once that was done, I could start building the layout itself. As I mentioned in the last video, I wanted to try and reuse and repurpose as much of the old wood from the old layout as much as possible. Starting from this front corner right here for the 2x4 framework, from here all the way around to about right here where it ends just in front of the sliding door right here. That's all old framework from the past layout, and that worked out quite well. I did have to go out and pick up a couple new sticks, 2x4s for this section right here. I still had some left over from the old layout, but it was all cut too short to span this span right here. It just wasn't long enough, so I did have to pick up a couple new sticks. You will notice, since this is in front of the door, I've opted out on putting any framework down here. Call me concerned or a wussy, whatever you want to say. But I do still want to try and keep some safety in mind. You know, if this house was ever to burst into flame one night, or we had an intruder or whatnot, we can still easily at least roly-poly out of here if we need to, versus having to climb through framework and whatnot. And it's got plenty of space down here for us to get through to get out of the house if needed. For the tabletop itself, the particle board, I was able to reuse 2 full pieces left over, but you can see exactly what I was talking about in that last video. This stuff has been reused so many times. Look at all these holes. These kind of almost look like Swiss cheese, don't they? Yeah, I got a lot of filling to do. And these are actually the better sides or better halves of these full boards when I cut them. The other sides were even worse. And I didn't want to fight that throughout the whole layout. So I did pick up 2 new boards. I got one here and one over here. So these are brand new. And then I used what was left over from those. And I also had some leftover pieces from old layouts of this first layout that I built, cut off sections still out in the garage. And that's what was used up here and over here, along with the little bits and pieces from the new board. So that worked out quite well. I even had enough left over. I built a cute little shelf down here for my Bluetooth speaker. I think that turned out pretty cool. A couple standout new features on our new table. You'll notice over here, I inset the framework a little bit compared to the rest of the table where all the framework's out on the outer edge. I do plan on building a nice big shelf and insetting it in under the layout. I got to pick up some more 1x4 to build that, but I think that'll be a nice touch. This will all be just nice shelving, just like this stuff we have on the wall, except down here. I got to get a backing for it and make it all pretty, but I do plan on that for there. And then obviously up front here, we're going to have a bridge or bridges here, which we'll go over in a moment. But because of that, I wanted to make sure this new layout was nice and secure. This is actually the first time I've done this, but in several areas of the framework, I've secured the new table to the framework of the house. This thing is sturdy as an ox, man. You can't move it. It's even tied into the second layout over here Like I say, you can't move this thing, man. I really like that. I've never done that in the past. And not only will it work out for our new bridge, but I also like the extra security of it. You know, when people are over and they might accidentally bump into the table, or if somebody, God forbid, had one too many adult beverages and staggers into the table, the whole table's not getting shaken. You're not making scenery fall and stuff like that. I really like that. I wish I would have done that before, but now that I have done it, I'll definitely be doing that with any future layouts. There are two things that I've really been mulling over, but have yet to come to a decision on. Maybe you guys can help me out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But the first one is, as mentioned, the bridge or bridges we need to install here for the track work going over this span. Now, my original thought was to pick up a piece of plywood or particle board, such as we're using right now, and just have a big board placed right here for all the track to span this area. I'd have it on cabinet hinges. That way we can swing it up this way to gain entry into the middle of the layout. My fear with that, though, is this would be a pretty big, substantial piece of plywood or particle board, and that might be very heavy. I do think it might look the best, but like I say, it'd just be a big bulky piece to lift up and move every time we want to get into the middle. My second thought with this is running 3 individual, much smaller bridges for each of the tracks that are going to span right here, and have actual bridges in between these places. Like I say, I'm kind of torn on that. What do you guys think? What do you think would be cooler? Having 3 actual girder-type bridges, or just having like a piece of the layout like it is right now, just spanning right here, able to tilt up for entry? Let me know your thoughts on that. The next one is the command center for this layout over here. My original intentions were installing the command center down right here with our ZWL, having our little shelf for all our smoke fluids and so on and so forth, and just placing it kind of under the layout right here. Now, it is still plausible and what will probably happen, but honestly, when I'm in here by myself, even though we can walk in the middle of the layout now, 9 times out of 10, I'll still probably more than likely be standing right here where I am. I like standing right here. I'm in between both layouts and I can see everything. And so because of that, I'm also thinking of placing the control panel or control center for this layout right here. Same type of setup under the layout, just with easier access right here. Like I say, I'll probably still be standing here most of the time, so this might be the best spot. But again, I don't know if that's the best idea. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I do want to thank you guys for all your comments. I greatly appreciate all the feedback, possible criticism, ideas, or thoughts that could be used here in the train room. I enjoy seeing that, and I do read them all. And in fact, in the last video we did, taking the layout down, I asked you guys your thoughts and opinions on what we should do in here, and you guys really spoke. I enjoyed reading all of that. There were a few really standout ones that a lot of people seem to share the same type of idea or had the same thoughts, and I wanted to touch base on a couple of those here real quick. The first one was, a lot of people thought we should paint this room a nice sky blue to go with the new layout. And you know, I gotta agree 110%. That would be very, very cool. Hell, honestly, if I had stripped this whole room, taken down the second layout, in all honesty, I probably would do that. But because I'm not taking this second layout down, I'm not going to be looking to do that. I didn't want to paint just this part of the room sky blue. As great as it might look, I really thought it would look quite ugly if it just stopped right here. That blue really wouldn't jive with this natural wood and beige paint over here. I think, honestly, it'd just be really, really ugly. Like I say, if I had stripped the whole room, both layouts came out, and all the shelving came down temporarily, I'd definitely look to repaint this room in a sky blue color. I don't think it's going to happen with this room, but one day when we do hit the lottery and we can build our big, massive train room, I will definitely be looking to paint that all blue for a nice base to start off with. That is a really cool idea. Now, I'm not going to lie, this second one really kind of had me puzzled and scratching my head, and that included all the windows and glass in here. Several of you guys mentioned we should either tint the glass or take some wood or take some board and completely fill in all the glass, or maybe even install backdrops over the window and glass openings in here. And like I say, that really kind of had me puzzled. Not to be rude, but my honest short answer to that is hell no. Absolutely not. I love all the windows and glass in here in the train room. That's what makes this train room to me, man. I don't have a big train room, obviously, but all this glass in here is one of the standout features of it and what makes it so special, in my opinion. And let me give you a couple reasons as to why. You know, normally 9 times out of 10, a train layout or train room is built in a basement, an attic, a garage, or even a separate building off of the house. And all of these spaces share the exact same thing. They don't have any windows, or if they do, they only have 1 or 2 real small ones that don't let in any natural light. I mean, these are dark and dingy places. Now, don't get me wrong. People do some amazing work with these areas. I mean, fantastic work. But at the end of the day, it's still a garage or a basement. It's a dark, dingy place, and it is noticeable. I love all the natural light in here, and you can't get that with those type of spaces. I love coming in here on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. I don't even have to turn the lights on. I got all the natural lighting in here, and it makes it feel just as that is, natural. It's a really nice touch. And the next big part about this, which is honestly what had me kind of puzzled, you know, we spend good money trying to model and mimic real world, real terrain, mountains, hills, grass, everything, you name it. Why in the world would I want to spend money to try and make a fake scene when I have the real thing right here, right next to the layout? Like I say, this is what made me kind of scratch my head. We have real grass, real trees, real weeds growing up that need to get mowed. And this stuff looks great. It makes a great backdrop for the trains to run by. I don't want to spend money to put a backdrop here when I have the real thing right there. And again, we got all that natural sunlight coming in. There's no replacement for the real thing, in my opinion. But yeah, not to go off on a tangent or anything. But no, the glass is not going anywhere. I like it too much. And as I say, it's just one of the standout features in here. Now, sure, we do run the risk of possible sun damage to some things. Like I mentioned in the last video, I do believe that's what happened with the big red bridge that was over here that seemed to get dried out quite a bit from the sun. But to be honest with you, that's the first piece or first item I've ever kind of noticed that with. I haven't noticed that on anything else. But even still, that's a price I'm willing to pay. It's just one of the things I really like about this room. And luckily for us, all our shelving is located in great spots. None of them is in direct sunlight, so they're not really at risk. And with the trains that are running on the layouts, when they're not in use, I always make sure to park them along the back wall over here, or over here in the tunnels on the second layout. That way they're protected. They're not parked in front of the glass with the sun beating on them all day long. And I haven't had any issues with that since putting the layout up in here. Like I say, that bridge is the first thing I've ever noticed with it. And the last one I wanted to mention real quick, a lot of you guys were saying we should make sure to put up some backdrops and whatnot to accompany the new layout. And we are definitely on the same wavelength. As you can see, I've stripped all the items and whatnot that were hanging on the wall back here. I definitely have some plans for this. I'm not going to be putting up the standard paper backdrops like we have been doing. I want to do something a little bit better, in my personal opinion, something that's actually a part of the layout itself. But you'll have to hang out and see what we do when that time comes. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the time being. I've obviously still got a lot of work left ahead of me. The next couple steps, I picked up a new tub of spackle. I got to fill in all these seams and screw holes and all the holes on those sheets in the back that I pointed out earlier. That's going to be quite a task. But once that's done, we can start painting and hopefully laying our track work and whatever else we need to get done to get some trains running in here once again. But yeah, like I mentioned, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I do apologize in advance. It might be a little while till I get another video out. I'm actually headed to the York Train Show next week. I'm really excited for it. I'm heading up there with a couple buddies. We're leaving here and heading north Sunday. And like I say, we're going to be up there for the week. I hope I see you there at the show. If you see me, make sure to come up and say, hey, I'd love to meet you. I think it'll be an absolute blast. But yeah, because of that, work in here is going to come to kind of a halt for a little bit. And obviously, we're going to be out of town for the week, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to jump back on the layout and get back on this. Hopefully, I can get a lot of what I need to get done this week before really getting ready for the trip. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you're liking the new layout. If you are, as I mentioned at the beginning, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. But as always, guys, until next time, my name is Zach, and this is Country Bunkers Trains. Y'all take care. I'll see you the next go-round.